Have you been dating lately? Have you heard some questionable statements about someone's past, or the way they feel about something, or some traumatic thing that's happened to them? Does it spark you to want to know more? Are you taking the necessary precautions? I'm not talking about birth control. I'm talking about safety. Third husband. I'm really having a hard time sharing this, not because of my guilt over this huge mistake I made that changed the course of my life forever, or could have, but really because I truly believe that everything in my life is of my making or my responsibility in some way. All right, so here's the story. So, husband number 2, remember I told you he had a fascination with growing pot back in the days when it wasn't legal anywhere in the United States? Major fascination, okay? From the moment I met him to the moment we separated, which after that he was going to Hawaii to, guess what? Grow pot. He was just obsessed with it, and it was always a sticking point. I had young children. Didn't matter if they were young or old or anything. I didn't want to be involved with that, okay? And we've always been friends. We've remained friends. We were friends in the beginning. We got married. We shouldn't have, because we were always better friends. You have to think about that sometimes in your relationships too. Anyway, I digress. Sorry. And so I met husband number 3 through my church. He was a counselor, psychologist. He was referred to me by my church because I wanted to do some career counseling. I wanted to do some tests and assessments and evaluations of where I might want to go next with my life. I was 40 at the time. 40, when I think about it now, I guess you still can be a little naive at 40. A lot of people are a lot naive. I was a lot naive. Anyway, so I started seeing him for counseling. And of course, topics strayed from professional development into personal situations, what was going on in my personal life. I was in counseling with him, I'd say, probably about 6 months, when he offered me a job. He had a counseling practice. He and the other counselors in his practice wanted to get into doing workshops for churches, Christian schools, and other organizations like that. Parenting relationships, marriage relationships, growing your faith, getting involved in your church. So we had this parallel path. And he said, how would you like to come to work for me and, develop this seminar and workshop business? I was so excited. I couldn't hardly wait to start. I have something to offer, and finally somebody is seeing my potential and wants it. Yay. Okay? So we decide to meet in his house for that, because that's kind of going into the business, all right? So technically, you're not supposed to date your counselor. You're not supposed to really get involved with them in any way. So I thought, I'm not dating him. I'm just working for him. So should be all right. We start working. I am working my little fanny off. I'm growing this business. Well, one thing leads to another, and we start dating. And we're dating, and next thing you know, we say, well, maybe we should live together. It'd be more convenient. We don't have to go back and forth with all the work stuff. We're kind of living the same life anyway. We're dating, everything's working well. So we start dating, and then we start living together, and I invite husband number 2 to come over and meet husband number 3 one day. And in the process, I'm showing husband number 2 this beautiful garden I have created on the side of our house. And he turns to husband number 3 and says, "This would be an awesome place to grow pot." I just blew it off. I didn't think husband number 3 was interested. Okay, but in the meantime, this is why it's important to put the pieces together before you're too far into it, okay? In the meantime, husband number 3, who was a pastor as well as a psychologist, I thought I had hit the jackpot. I mean, who can take care of me better than someone who knows how to deal with my mind and my heart and my soul, right? How could you go wrong? I'm marrying a doctor. Oh yeah, I'm marrying a doctor. Whoops, forgot to tell you. Shortly after moving in, he said, "We should get married." So I said, "Okay, I'm marrying a doctor." I mean, I can't wait to tell my dad. He will be so excited that I have finally risen through the ranks to marry a doctor, all right? This doctor, once we started living together, showed me his obsession with pot. So we're married and I'm working away, out with my seminars, selling. And husband number 3 says, "I kind of like that idea about growing pot." And I said, I don't. So he threw a few seeds out and I thought, his mother and father are coming in a couple months to visit. That'll be all over when they come because they're going to know what it is. Or he'll pull it out, certainly, before his parents come. His parents are very, very respected in their community, and he's grown up in that and become a pastor and a psychologist in that. So certainly, if this will end when they get here. You know what happened when they got there? I had to lie to him. Now, in Arizona, this is how ridiculous this is. There was no protection from anybody seeing what he was doing. And I thought he's just going to grow a couple of plants, just for fun, and nothing's going to come of them, just like the other guy. Surely husband number 3 is not going to succeed. No, husband number 3 knew he wouldn't succeed. So you know what happened? While I was out selling his services, he was home researching how to grow pot. And I would come home and he'd say, "Now tonight at 10:57, I need to clip this and this and this to make the buds bigger." He was obsessed with it. It's all he could think about. And before long, we had quite the crop growing. I was terrified all the time. I mean, he did such a good job that everybody that came to the offices attached to our house could smell that pot. It perfumed probably half the block, seriously. They were tall and big, and they were quite beautiful plants, I have to say, but way too much for comfort. And I kept telling him that I was just terrified. And he would tell me all the time, "Now, Alexis, just calm down. God is on our side. We are doing good things in the community. Don't worry about it. We're protected." I didn't really see how, but this was my husband, who was a pastor and a psychologist and had my best interest at hand. Maybe I was just being paranoid. I know, sounds crazy that I would believe that, but I did. Okay, so one day I go off to the grocery store and I come back, and seriously, these plants were big and smelly. One day, so I go to the grocery store, I come back, and there's 2 cop cars parked outside of our next door neighbor's house. And I circle the block, waiting for them to leave. And the longer they're there, the more I know they're there for us. So finally I decide I'm going to pull in the driveway, let the chips fall where they may. This is where we're at, right? Okay. I pull in the driveway, garage door goes up, get the car in, garage door goes down. I get in the house and I run to the front window to see what's going to happen next. And both those cars leave. I tell him, I know they're here for us. Let's just take all the pot, put it in the trash, and toss it. He's like, no way. I've waited this whole season we're only 2 weeks away from harvest. I am not getting rid of that pot now. Those cops are coming to get us. I know they are. I know they are. Alexis, you're just being paranoid. Stop it. I am waiting. Look at how nice they are. We're going to have the finest harvest. Okay. Nothing I can do. This is my man, head of household, right? That night we were out playing in our gardens. It was about 9 o'clock at night. We were actually putting beer out for slugs. We had a bad slug problem. And we're just bent over. All of a sudden, there's a commotion coming through the fence gate. The gate opens, and I don't remember how many, 4 or 5 cops in SWAT gear with their guns drawn tell us to put our hands up. Drop what you're doing and put your hands up. I put my hands up immediately. And you know what? When you're that scared, you really do pee in your pants. Who knew? I didn't. So, what does he do? He walks towards them to explain. I can explain everything. I'm thinking, I'm going to watch him be shot right now. Again, they scream, stop, put your hands up. And I tell him, put your hands up, I'm screaming at him, put your hands up, put your hands up. He puts his hands up. Finally, that part of this experience is moved into they take us into the house and they sit us down and tell us that we're being charged with a felony for growing pot. And there's 2 cops there questioning us. There's about 3 or 4 tearing the house apart, looking for evidence. And there's 3 or 4 more pulling out all those pot plants, the evidence, okay? So we're giving our statement, and they said, if you give a statement now, you don't have to go to jail. I said, oh, immediately, I'm going to jail. I don't want to give you a statement now. I don't want to talk. I don't want to say anything. Because I was against this the whole time, all right? So my husband, the psychologist and the pastor, and turns to me and says, Alexis, this is why your marriages have failed in the past. For better or worse, you need to stand by your man. And we're in one of those situations now. Ooh, was I put in my womanly place. I sat my little bottom down while he told the whole story, just as if both of us were involved. Both of us were growing pot instead of out working with churches and Christian schools. Yeah. They collected 70 pounds of pot from our side yard. That was a pretty traumatic experience. Going to court was more traumatic. I could not keep my body from hysterically shaking, crying, composing myself in front of the judge, even though my husband kept telling me, get yourself together, get yourself together. The judge made a statement and said, I can see that you, Alexis, are clearly remorseful. However, your husband is being a little arrogant about it. So, unfortunately, I have to charge you both the same. All right, so we got charged with 2 months in the famous Joe Arpaio tent city of Arizona in July and August, 110 degrees, 115 degrees in tents in the desert. That was part of our punishment. We had $10,000 fines. We had 3,200 hours of community service. We had to go to be tested every day. We had to call in to see if we were going to be tested for drug use. And we had probation officers we had to go see once a week. When this was finally wrapped up a year later, we were coming up on our year anniversary of being married. Huh, some first year, huh? How was your first year? The week after, I told him I was not interested in this, and I left him. And from there, things just got worse. Okay, so that's the basic story you need to know. So I leave my husband. I have given up every friend I have for this relationship. I have given up jobs. I have narrowed my focus to only be committed to him and our life at this point. When I leave, guess what? I have no job. I have no place to live. I don't have a car because I sold mine to pay off his credit card debt. And my friends have pretty much given up on me and haven't been in contact for many months now. I start one by one, picking up the pieces, creating my community. That's why I'm so big on community. At some point, you're gonna need it. And it's not great to be building one when you've had felony charges, all right? You can't rent, you can't buy, you can't get a job in a lot of cases. So it's really like in a hole I had to dig out of, all right? But my sweet friends, the way they are, as soon as I reached out for help, said, "Come here, little one, we want to show you something." And they took me to the internet and said, "Look here and look here. You can find out that he didn't actually graduate from Emory University like he said he did. And he got a psychology degree, but it was from this school that was shut down by the government for fraud. Oh, and look here, he's not a pastor anymore because he was accused of rape." This is why I'm saying beware, okay? I loved that man so much that my internal compass was saying, you know, something's not quite right here. Something's not quite right. I just chalked up his wanting to smoke pot, and his sexual escapades, and his new friends who, when we knew that after we were convicted, we had to test for pot every day. So my ex said, "Well, let's just switch to crack. They're not testing it for that, and my friends make it." Bad to worse, right? No, I was out by then, okay? So, what I want to tell you today is that now we fast forward 25 years, all right? All that's been put away. It's been expunged. I took care of all my stuff. I was a model criminal for a while. You get caught in that system, you may never get out. Seriously. It is crafty and filled with potholes that your life will fall into and never get out. So 25 years later, I see the young, innocent, naive, in love, committed to a man no matter what to make it work because she's had failed marriages and by God, this one's going to work. No, listen to your gut. If something feels off, it's off, even if it's the teeniest, tiniest message from your gut. And now that I'm doing these videos, I have a little more interest in dating. And I've been doing some dating lately. And in the conversations, I hear little bits here and there that set off little alarms because I've been through this experience. Sometimes it sets off an alarm that I do go and do a background check because we have that available to us these days. And just a little tip, if you're doing a background check on somebody and they say, "Oh, it's going to be $35 to do it," if you just put it in your email box and save it for later, they'll send you a $9.95 price instead. So you don't have to check out everybody for $30 if you're kind of frugal or cheap like me. But if you feel it necessary, do that to protect yourself. Nowadays, we are a mobile society. Anybody can be anywhere. Beware. just because the man you love or the woman you're attracted to is telling you all these things that you want to hear, you believe them with all your heart. Listen to your gut. There's plenty of resources to check people out. Don't just willy-nilly go into a relationship and give your heart away, give your life away. You know what I could have possibly missed? I could have missed caring for my mother in her final years of life. I would have missed my first son's marriage. Just two of many things I would have missed. I had the potential to go to prison for 7 years. It could happen to you. It really could. And it happens in a blink of an eye. Beware. Have fun dating, but beware. Okay, that's it for today. Have a great day. We'll see you next time. Bye.